All right, boys and girls, today we are going to talk about pointillism. Let me spell that for you. Can you see that? Gosh, last time I did one of these, I used a pencil that was so light you couldn't even see. Let me try this. Pointillism. So, can you guess what that term means based on the two color wheels that I have here for you? Well, pointillism is just what you think. It's a technique in art in which small, distinct little dots of pure color are applied to create an image. And it kind of relies on what they say is the science of the eye. So it's the ability of our eyes and our minds to blend everything together to make a picture. Now, pointillism has been around for a long time, like the 1880s. So in our last lesson, we talked about Monet, and then after Monet and Impressionism came pointillism. So I'm going to try to show you, since I don't have the library available, some famous works. This one guy right here, whose name is Georges Seurat. This is all done with dots. Pretty fabulous, isn't it? And then there's other things. There's the Eiffel Tower. Then there's, flowers that you can do. Here's a leaf. This is cool. This eye right here. Can you see the dots? So this is pointillism. All right, so we're going to practice this today. And I have two things here. This one is for my little guys to make the color wheel. And this one is for my older kids because it's a little bit more complicated. And so let's just review the color wheel real quick. We have our primary colors, right? We know what those are. Red, blue, and yellow. These are primary colors. This is what all the other colors come from. So these are primary colors. So here we have red, yellow, and blue. And then in between those are our secondary colors, right? When we blend yellow and red, we get orange. When we blend yellow and blue, we get green. And when we blend blue and red, we get purple. So those are called secondary colors. Now, if I jump over here into this more of a pinwheel shaped color wheel, I also am putting in there something called tertiary colors. And we've talked about this. So that's the blending of the secondary and primary colors. So if I add primary plus secondary, that equals tertiary, all right? And that's how, let me spell that for you in case you're tertiary. Okay, so when I blend my yellows into the orange, I get a variation of yellowy oranges. Some are heavier on the yellow, some are heavier on the orange. So in this pinwheel here, I've got all of the blending going on, okay? So your supplies today, what you're gonna need is a piece of paper. You're gonna need a ruler and some scissors, a pencil and an eraser, and at least 6 markers, all right? If you have more markers, that's even better. Okay, I bought this box of, they're like Sharpie markers, but they're Amazon's brand. It was like $6 and change for this whole thing. And they're beautiful and they're bright and they're bold. And so I use these to create this project here, all right? So I'm gonna go over, I'll start with the little guys one first. So, oh, and the other thing you're gonna need is some kind of small bowl or ramekin. Okay, something small. Small as your hand, all right? Because This is a lot of dots, and you don't want to fill up a whole page because you might get frustrated, and I don't want you to get frustrated. I want you to try to be patient and take the time to learn how to do this. So I'm going to flip the bowl over, all right, and I'm going to make a circle here. Okay. So I'm going to do this one first, this color wheel here. All right. So I just need to divide this up into a pizza. All right. Now this pizza only has 6 slices. Okay. So with my artist's eye, I'm just going to find the middle of the circle, give it its little belly button right here. All right. So it doesn't have to be perfect and exact. And I'm going to draw a line from one end to the other. Okay. So I need 2 more lines here to divide this out. So probably one about here and one about here. All right, so they have about the same spacing. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to line up this mark with the belly button mark and draw that. And then I'm going to line up this one with the center. And this is just good practice, boys and girls, for you little guys to do this. Just making this part here, all right? So I am going to write the names of the colors at the top of each piece of my pie, all right? And for this, I just used a black marker, okay? And it does help if you put it in this order, okay? Because we want the blue and the yellow and red to be every other, okay? Because this is how we blend our colors this way, okay? So I'm gonna say this is yellow. And I'm kind of following the arc of the circle there, all right? And this is our green. Actually, I added an S because we have all the blending variations, don't we? And these are our blues. So think about your letters and the spacing. Are they about the same size? Purple. Now notice that I'm not starting right at the edge here, right? I'm trying to scoot in a little bit and sort of center it. And again, you can use your artist's eye to do that. We're just practicing here. And oranges. Oh, I forgot my S's again. I'll go back and put those on. Okay, so there's my pizza pie. Now I'm not going to do this whole thing. I'm just going to demonstrate for you what you are going to do. So you can start with a color, all right? So this I'm starting with blue. So I'm going to find my blue pizza pie. And it's better if you hold the marker straight up instead of at a slant, because you could start getting dashes when you're doing it this way versus if you're going just straight on, you're going to get dots, all right? And so you are just going to make a congregation of blue dots, all right? You're gonna fill in that space, and I just sort of go across and make that pizza pie shape here. So again, I'm not gonna fill in this whole thing, but you see what I'm doing, right? Like literally, this is pointillism. You can congregate your dots in a certain area, which gives it more color. So it'll be deeper, like that. See, this is much deeper than these guys over here, right? It looks like a population chart, doesn't it? Now, if you have other markers, you can choose like another blue. So I have this blue, but I also have this lighter blue. So I can add that to my pizza pie too. So it gives it variation. I'm blending in some colors. I'm sticking with the category though, right? I'm just in blue. So I just am putting all those dots in there. And sometimes I'm gonna slow down and think about, well, this has a big hole. So I need to slow down and put some in there, okay? Now, obviously, the more dots you put in there, the more concentrated it'll be. And actually, I think it looks better when there's more. All right. So you're going to do that with each of the colors, okay, on your color wheel. And then when you're finished, you can cut that out, and then you'll have what I have here. Okay. So that's for my little guys. You guys can start if you want to, and I'm going to move on to my big kids now. And I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to make another circle. I'm just going to reuse my paper, so I'm not being wasteful. So this is just to kind of give me direction for this pinwheel here. Now, can you see there's sort of like a letter S right here? Do you see that kind of cutting through there? There's an S here, there's an S here, right? So that's kind of the curve that we're trying to achieve, okay? So you're going to start off with 3 sections because we're going to start with our primary colors on this, all right? So I'm going to need 3 of those curves. So I'm going to find the little belly button in the center of my circle, and I'm going to put it there, and then I'm going to look at it. If I'm really off, I'll erase it and I'll move it over, but look at it, okay? So I'm going to put this into thirds, and I'm going to need like a curve here. Okay, and then I'm going to flip my paper, and probably that third is going to come somewhere around here. Okay, you see that sort of S shape? And I'm going to make one more. And if I'm unhappy with it, I'm going to change it. Okay, so that's pretty decent. You know, those peppermint candies, that's kind of like what's happening here, right? So you're going to start, I hope you can see my lines. They're still pretty light, aren't they? Let me try to go over this a little darker. So here's one curve. Here's a curve. And here's a curve. Okay, do you see that okay? All right, so I'll start, and I'm just going to begin making this my red, okay? So here's my red on the one that I finished. So settle in and get yourself comfortable, because this is going to take some time, and let's face it, we're quarantined, so time we have, right? Now I will erase this line later. So I'm going to make this my most concentrated red on the whole pinwheel, is this area right here, okay? So you're just going to fill that in until you feel like you've got a good, deep, solid color, okay? And it's okay if you make like a little bit of it fatter. I don't know how well you can see, but like the purple that comes out, it kind of gets dense and thicker in here because I got more space, right? Because my circle gets wide, you know, it's narrow here, and then it gets wider and wider. So maybe I'll build this up a little in the fatter part of the circle, and then it gets narrower as it goes down, and then you just got to build it, okay? So you're just going to put dots and dots and dots and dots. Dots forever, right? All right. So now I'm going to choose another one, and I'll do this one yellow. I hope you can see this okay. So same thing, same process, same procedure, okay? This is going to be my yellow. So I'm going to fill it in until I see a good striking yellow here. And your markers might be different than mine, and that is okay. Use what you have. Okay, so you're going to fill it in and fill it in, fill it in, fill it in, right? You get what I'm doing here. Now, I would do this more, but I'm videoing and I want to show you the whole thing, and you can work on it And I really appreciate some of your moms are contacting me and saying, this was a great project. And they took a picture of the work you did so I can see it. Because you know what's hard about this, boys and girls, is when I'm with you, I can really gauge you if you're understanding and if you're following, and you can ask me questions, and I can see whether it's clicking and you're enjoying it, or if you're frustrated and I need to stop and slow down and help you. But on this video, I don't have you with me, so I'm not sure. So if you feel like, I should tell Miss Speech, you know, this thing, or let her know, so that if I ever teach this lesson again, then I'll do a better job next time, right? So, and videoing is challenging just because I'm trying to teach you, and like the last one that I did, the Monet one, the paper scooted off the screen. So I'm talking and teaching, and then I look at it later after I upload it to YouTube, and it's not all on the screen. Or my pencil's too light. I mean, it's funny because you know how we talk about in class, draw it light until it's right. Yeah? Well, I drew it so light that you could hardly see it, right? Okay, so let's say I'm filling it in, fill it in, fill it in. Now I'm gonna put in my secondary colors. Let me grab those guys. All right, so I'm gonna need to fill in 3 more lines. All right, so I did these 3, I'm gonna add 3 more to do my secondary colors. All right, so the same thing. So this time I can kind of judge what the middle of these 2 are. All right, and so my curved line is just gonna kind of come around and meet that, right? Turn my paper, right? I don't need to bend my arm, right? I can turn my paper, right? I have the freedom to do that. This one has a little bit more space between it, but that's okay. So that's about the middle. And I'm gonna come around here. And I'm gonna turn my paper again. Do you see how I'm doing that? You do it too. And I'm gonna look about the middle distance between here. I'm just using my artist's eye, right? You can always change it. And this one is gonna stretch over here, okay? Now, don't get all confused here. Think about what you're doing, all right? So if I have yellow and red, my 2 primary colors here, what's my secondary color gonna be? Orange, right? So this is where I'm gonna put my orange color, right? So the orange is gonna go here, right? You're gonna fill that all in, fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it. Okay, and I take turns. Like once I get this thing going, I'll do orange for a while and I'll stop and I'll do a different color. All right, so what about this? I've got red and blue here, so that means that this secondary color is purple, right? So here goes my purple dots. So this is Pointillism, and we did Yayoi Kusami earlier this year, and she was all about dots too, right? But her dots were different, right? They were more like circles, and she did all of her paintings with circle dots. Okay, so you're gonna fill that all in. And then our last one, we have yellow and blue. So our secondary color would be green, yes? So here's my green. So you fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it, fill it, right? Make it really dense and dark, just like I did here. Okay, so once you get these really built up, like I would not be satisfied with this, all right? This needs to have more. This isn't too bad, but you need to keep going, right? You need to keep going until you feel like, yeah, this is really striking and good, all right? Really solid, filling in that white, right? You wanna get rid of that white. Not completely, but you wanna see more color than not. Okay, so what happens after I do this and I have to fill in and meet my tertiary colors, all right? So basically I need to bring these in. So the dots are going to get sparser, is that a word? More sparse, okay? They're going to get less. So my green dots are going to come out here, but they're not going to be as concentrated, okay? So they're still there, but not as many as here, right? And then I'm going to take my blue, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to join into the green, but not as dense as this. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if you have other colors, if you have a bluish green, you could use that here, or a lighter blue to help with transitions, okay? Just to say this is changing if you wanted to. If you don't have other colors and you only have your primary and secondary, then just fill it in like that, okay? So I had like a lighter blue here, and here's a lighter green. So I'm just kind of going alongside of my deep colors and adding that in. And so you'll keep filling it in and filling it in and filling it in until you get your color pinwheel like this, all right? So take your time, move your paper around. If you get tired of looking at greens, move it around and do a different color, right? Doesn't make any difference which one you do first. So I hope you enjoy this project. Give me some feedback and let me know what you thought of it. Send me pictures if you want. And I hope that you enjoy this lesson on pointillism.